The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Hello everyone and welcome to Health and Wellness. My name is Paul Dreslow and I'll be your host. Today we're going to be speaking about vision as it relates specifically to sports performance. Topics such as vision conditions athletes might experience, how to diagnose and treat them, as well as working with athletes in general terms. To help us talk about some of these issues, we are very fortunate to have with us today Dr. Robert Fox of Fox Vision Development Center in Latham.
Okay,
so
thanks.
Welcome, Dr. Fox.
Thanks. Good to be back, Paul.
Yep. This is our third edition, actually, 3 of 3. So let's go over a couple quick things on vision generally, and then we'll delve into the sports-related topics. All right, so first, just in general terms, what is the difference between eyesight and vision? People are very familiar with the eyesight and the reading chart, but tell us a little bit about the differences between the two.
Okay. Actually, there's some pretty big differences. Most people think of that eye chart with the big E at the top, and they think that checks everything they need to know about vision. It just checks one thing, which we call visual acuity, or clearness of sight. And it's really just checking one eye at a time, given often as much time as the tester wants to give you. It's telling you really very little. It does not tell you if the eyes are able to change focus from near to far. We have 2 eyes, so they have to work together. If the eyes aren't working together, you might end up with some double vision, and that can certainly cause its own issues. If you're not able to accurately move your eye from place to place in reading, it can cause you to lose your place. In sports, it might cause you to have trouble keeping the eye on the ball. Right.
So, as it relates to athletes, what are some of the visual skills specifically that athletes need in playing in either various sports or sports generally? What are the specific skills that they need visually?
The high-level athlete and the weekend athlete as well. We work with a lot of just weekend people as well, golfers, people who play various sports on the weekend.
Take it very seriously.
And they take it, those golfers take it very seriously.
They do.
But we talk to people who play soccer, pickup games, basketball, etc., tennis. I just spoke to somebody about tennis this week, in fact. There's different skills beyond just seeing a letter chart clearly at a distance. There's something called dynamic visual acuity. That's when either you or the object you're looking at, or both, are moving and still able to see clearly. We have some people who have really good vision if they're sitting or standing still, but just give them a little bit of motion and they deteriorate very quickly from 20/20 to maybe 20/40, or from clear to blurry, and they have trouble with that. So that's one.
How does it come about, just out of curiosity? Is there something that's prompting you, or is it just something you're born with? Or?
Well, your vision system ties in very closely with your inner ear balance system. And if they're not communicating well with each other, they might be giving your brain conflicting information. So you might think an object is moving when it's really staying still, or vice versa, and not be able to accurately follow it, and therefore find it, and therefore see it clearly. All right. So a person trying to hit, it's more important in a sport where athletes are moving or the ball is moving. Let's say tennis. All right. A high-level athlete actually wants to see the spin of the ball to know if it's going to curve left or curve right. That ball isn't staying still and giving you a chance to look at it. You have to anticipate and move it. You're moving, your racket's moving, the ball is moving, all these things are moving at once, and you still have to see that ball pretty clearly. So it's very dynamic as opposed to static, which is staying still, which is usually reading a book that's not moving exactly.
So what are, is there any other skills that people...
Focusing is very important, shifting from near to far. As that ball comes closer to you, you have to be able to still keep it clear. Obviously, baseball players have to be able to locate that ball as quickly as they can. The other one that's really, really important is using those two eyes together. Okay, this is the one we found the most. I've worked with some University at Albany Division I girls volleyball players. That's been one of the most rewarding things we've done. And we've had a couple of players who don't use their two eyes well together. So if their eyes want to crisscross a little bit, they might think things are actually closer to them than they really are. So they might jump up too early to spike the ball, or if it's the opposite, they might mistime things and jump too late. So two-eyed vision. The other thing that's really important in many sports, not really in golf per se, but in most others, is peripheral vision.
Right, exactly.
You have, most of the time when you go to the eye doctor and get an exam, they're really only measuring a few degrees of your central vision. They do check periphery for certain diseases like glaucoma, which is important, and for another day to talk about.
Right.
But for the athlete, if you watch sports, you'll see that the better athletes seem to have better peripheral vision. Example I'll probably use is LeBron James.
Right.
He has tremendous peripheral vision. He's accused of being ridiculously unselfish because he can see all five players at the same time on the court, whereas other players just don't seem to be able to find their open teammate.
Wow.
So, and a lot of the star athletes through the years, Larry Bird, I think probably was maybe one of the best examples. Wayne Gretzky on ice, tremendous peripheral vision. It's almost like they see things before they happen, but part of it is just because they see everything, where most of us just tune into a little bit at a time.
Is that something you're born with, or is that something they train somewhere?
Well, I think for some of those athletes, they're born with it, but it is something we've successfully done with many athletes. We've improved it. Maybe I can't get you up to, very few of us can be LeBron James.
Right.
But there's a current football player, he's getting near the end of his career, Larry Fitzgerald, who is a receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. He blatantly will tell people he thinks he is very well coordinated with his hand-eye coordination because he did vision therapy when he was a child. His grandfather did vision therapy like I do, and he had some reading and learning problems. And he credits his outstanding hand-eye coordination, which is ridiculously good if you've ever seen him play, to the vision therapy he did when he was in elementary school.
Nice. What are some of the options and therapies that you use with specific athletic conditions? I see you have some
we have some fun stuff here. Yeah, there's a lot of things. The first thing that is to really do a really good eye examination. These athletes need outstanding clarity in terms of glasses or even better contact lenses. We found some athletes who are either uncorrected or one eye doesn't see as well as the other, and often a good pair of glasses or contacts can improve things. So number one, make sure the eyes are healthy. Make sure they have the optimal prescription. And again, for some of these sports like baseball, 20/30 doesn't cut it. They need 20/20 vision.
Exactly.
For the athlete who wants to improve some of these other abilities, we have something called optometric vision therapy, or more specifically, sports vision therapy. And we can, I have some of the tools, I'll go through these, and we can work on these different abilities such as peripheral vision, eye teaming, eye focusing. So let's talk a little bit about dynamic visual acuity. This is a rotator here, and as you can see, it has a letter chart and a wheel, and it looks like a funky contraption.
It does.
Right, and for the person who maybe is just having some reading and tracking problems, we might use a chart like this on a wall, and they're going to read the letters across or read the first and last and second and next to last. But for the athlete, that may not be good enough, because they're moving. What happens? Well, we can make this dynamic. We can spin this around, and we can have them now try to read that top row across as it's spinning around. If that's too easy, then we might put them on a trampoline.
Oh, nice.
We have
or
a trampoline
treadmill
at
or
the office.
something.
We have a lot of fun. It looks like a gym sometimes at our office. We might have them balancing on a board that teeters.
Nice.
We call that a balance board. And if that's too easy for them to, we could add a metronome. You know, we have metronomes in the office go tick, 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 tick. And then they have to do it to the rhythm of the beat. And of course, if it gets too easy, we make it go faster. We can make it go both directions, of course. We want to train everything here. So this is something, again, really working on dynamic visual acuity while we're working on eye movements, and then we add in the auditory and the balance as well. So we have a lot of fun with that. Something else we like to do that we work on, these are cool. These were distributed by Nike, so it has a little swoosh. I think it's now being distributed by somebody else. Don't ask me how or why. There's a very long story.
That's okay.
They got into the sports vision business, and then they got away from it, and now I think they're getting back into it. So it might be Nike again. So these are called strobe glasses, and I'll show you what they do. So if you look there, you'll see that they flash on and off, right? So if I were to wear them, I'm only seeing for brief periods of time, and then I see nothing. So it looks like a strobe light, but I could do it in a fully lit room.
How does that test you, or how does that?
This is actually a training activity. We'll do this a lot with things like hockey goalies who need to really react quickly to things. This, of course, we can change the speed. We can go slow. Most of the time with our athletes, there we go. We'll make it click much faster. So if I'm tossing a beanbag at you and asking you to catch it, you only see it about half the time.
Right.
So you have to look ahead, anticipate, keep your peripheral vision open, do all these things at once while catching. So I'm tossing this back and forth with you. I have an advantage. I'm not wearing these glasses.
Right, exactly.
But again, the athlete is, and again, we may put him on a trampoline, we may put him on a teeter-totter.
There's a whole variety of things.
Yeah. And when you get into the high school and college athletes, you really do have to push them. I have a friend in Buffalo. He works with NHL goalies. He does a lot of strobe work with them. He'll also do things like make them practice with white pucks that blend in with with that. So these are really great. You could even make it flash in one eye or the other eye as well. But the kids like it too. But this is something works really well for the athletes, and it's a really great tool here.
Okay, can you purchase that as a person, or is it just
for? It's considered a medical device, I believe.
Okay.
So you gotta go through office though. Though I think there are some independent sports training things that work with baseball players and things like that. The other thing, just to remind people, this is very well accepted in a lot of areas. The U.S. Olympic team has optometrists doing these things with their athletes. So that's been done before. Other things we love swinging balls.
Yep.
Balls are great. They're good for cats to play with as well. But but we'll hang this from a ceiling.
Right.
And the athlete, we may have a ball with letters on it and have to call letters off. They may have to bunt it. They may have to touch it to rhythm. They may have to, again, look at it while they're wearing strobe glasses as well, and do different things, do different patterns, right hand, left, left. We'll call out patterns, and they have to do them and match them. So again, we're asking to use their vision while they're moving. Balancing, etc. And then if we really want to make it difficult, we put on something called prism glasses. So if you look from the side, you'll see...
those are serious.
Yeah, those are serious prisms,
yeah.
Right. So they don't really change focus, but they change position. So they don't correct my nearsighted or my farsightedness. But if I were to look at you through these, you look like you're about a foot to my left. Okay? Now the problem is you're not really a foot to my left. So if I was playing a game of catch with you, doing beanbags, I now have to adjust where I'm aiming because I'm going to miss you. Right? So these athletes have to be able to make instant adjustments and have to be very flexible. So we'll put on some prisms everything moves to one side. After 5 or 6 tosses, they get the hang of it. Oh, this is pretty easy. I go, good, too easy. Then we need to change the glasses.
That's what I was just thinking. It's like too bad you couldn't screw them up. And
let's put on a pair, again, serious glasses that make everything go up.
Exactly.
Okay, and they make the floor look crooked, and they make walls look crooked and curved. And they have to adjust and develop flexibility. How they focus on one end of the lens is different than how they focus on the other end of the lens. We even have prisms that intentionally make people see double.
Wow.
And they have to still be able to do hand-eye activities. So, and we like that. And we just love beanbags. We do a lot of stuff with beanbags. We'll toss beanbags back and forth. We'll do things to the metronome on a trampoline, wearing interesting glasses. Okay?
Right.
So we'll be working on things like visualization too. We'll ask them to navigate through a maze, but then tell me how they would navigate if they were coming from the other direction. Okay, they have to visualize. A football player has to understand where they run to on the field.
Right.
So they have to be able to visualize the field, visualize where the other players are. And also, if they run the one play from the right, they may run the mirror image play from the left. They have to be able to flip it over in their heads to do that.
You hear that a lot. Athletes say they talk about the importance of visualizing things ahead of time. I've read that several times.
Yeah, it's very important. We use it the most with golfers.
Right.
It's very important. They actually did a study with basketball players. Okay, and they measured how many free throws they make out of 10 or 20.
Right.
And then they broke them into 3 groups. One did not practice for the next week or two, for the next week. One did practice for the next week. And one just visualized every day shooting free throws without really touching a ball.
Right.
And at the end of the test period, the ones who visualized it improved almost as much as the ones who actually practiced.
Did it. And if you can combine the two of them, obviously.
Yeah, combine the two, right. If you ever watch, like I said, you watch Olympics on TV, anytime somebody goes down a slalom course or you see it on the bobsled, you'll watch them just sitting before they go, and they're actually in their brain going through the whole course.
Mapping it out,
Yes, so when you're visualizing, you're actually stimulating the same cells in your brain that get activated when you actually see things.
Yeah,
so we'll do a lot of work with visualization.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Now, can you take someone with these therapies, can you take someone who probably doesn't have a problem and improve, or is this mainly intended for people who clearly have a problem, you want to bring them up to everyone else's level?
I think it's both. I think with high-level athletes, it's trying to improve and get every edge they can.
Right, exactly.
Okay? Like I said, there's a number, most majority of hockey goalies do it. They're already good. They're in the NHL.
Right, they've got to be.
And they want to be better. They want an edge. There are a couple of baseball players, I'm trying to remember which ones offhand, now are doing vision therapy. But a number of them have done it, and it's because some trainer said, you should try some vision therapy. I think we can even get you to be even better than you are. And they work with people to do things. The other thing we see is, again, I'm not going to take Joe off the street and turn him into LeBron James.
Right.
But like I said, I have helped people be more secure about their putting when they golf.
Right.
They're more relaxed. They see the whole green. They can read how hard, how fast. They can read the level of the green better after doing some vision therapy. And we can help people enjoy some of the sports more who might be a little frustrated on things.
Right. So do any of these, the sports-specific related problems, any of these manifest themselves in real life? Like, can an athlete detect a problem based on, reading a book or something? I mean, something that might hurt you athletically, but does it also hurt you in real life, or not necessarily?
It's happened a few times. I'm going to say yes, but not everybody's aware of it.
Okay.
One of the girls we worked with at UAlbany, I'm examining her eyes because the coach said, I think she has a vision problem, and the coach there is very tuned into it. volleyball players are anal retentive about their statistics. And a lot of the best research has been done on volleyball players because they keep everything.
Right.
Hit percentage, miss percentage,
Wow.
pass percentage. They chart everything. So it's a good group to do a study on.
Exactly.
But I'm examining this one girl's eyes, and halfway through the exam, I go, "You don't like to read much, do you?"
Mm-hmm.
And she just looks at me and says, "Dr. Fox, I hate reading. I just can fall asleep in 10 minutes, 5 minutes if I try to read." And here
Right.
she is at UAlbany, and
Right.
it's not an easy school to get into, so she's obviously a very smart kid.
Right.
But she struggles on the subjects where she has to read, and not only did her volleyball get better, I won't use her name because it's confidential. She actually responded really well. She actually went on to become Conference Player of the Year
Nice.
2 years later. But her grades went up quite a bit. Her parents are very happy with me. Yeah. So it worked out very well for everybody. But it can manifest itself in other things. So
Clearly.
yeah. And if you have poor peripheral vision, you're going to be a bit klutzy. Besides being a poor passer, you might be a bit of a bull in a china shop. We found people who are spectacular athletes, but they have vision problems, and find out, well, what sports do you play? Oh, I swim, or I run cross country. Mm-hmm. So they've kind of moved away from the sports where they have to hit a ball or pass to other teammates or things like that. They're still star athletes, but it's sort of reduced the choices they've had. The child may find he can hit a baseball, but now he's 12 years old, 13, and the ball is starting to come much faster. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, he doesn't want to play baseball anymore. It's too hard. I'll just play soccer. That's a big ball.
Yeah, I can see that.
So we do see kids sort of pick and choose which sports as they get frustrated with it. And we sometimes, like I had a child today who wants to play baseball. Well, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to play anymore. Right. His two eyes work together very poorly. His depth perception is poor. Is only about 20% of what it should be. And he's not going to be a star, but I think he'll be able to hit a baseball and do much better.
Definitely improve.
Yeah.
Once you treat an athlete for any of these specific conditions, does a person have to come back to you, or they have to spend time training on their own, or once you build that skill level, it's there for life?
A little bit of both. Generally, once you have the skill, it's there for life. But again, the high-level athlete, we talk about doing some maintenance work,
right?
Just like they continue to train
to practice,
everything else. Again, this is part of their training regimen, just like the way they would keep doing sit-ups to keep their abs in shape.
Exactly.
We tell them two things they should do. Number one, we'll give them a handful of exercises they can do each day. The other thing we'll do is we'll actually talk to them about doing a visual warm-up before they play a game. We stretch our muscles, we jog and we stretch. Nobody thinks about warming up the eyes.
Yeah.
So we'll actually talk to them about stretching their eyes out as they play a sport. Can you do just a few times clockwise, counterclockwise?
Right.
Playing on a tennis court, do some jump from corner to corner to corner to corner. Do a little warm up and visualize where you want your serves to be and visualize your return of service. Just as a little bit of warm up, just like you would warm up just hitting balls, you should warm up your vision system as well.
Nice. Do you see varying degrees of improvement generally, or do you have a certain level you kind of strive for? Do you see people get significantly better? Is it just based on their starting point, or is there just some people who respond to things?
Definitely. Number one, athletes are generally good to work with because they understand practice.
Right.
They understand if they don't work at things are not going to get better.
Right.
So we talk about goals. We talk about reasonable goals that we have. I had a girl who was a star tennis player, but her opponents began to figure out that she couldn't hit lobs well.
Well, that's
hard
to believe. Yeah.
Hard to believe, but she was a very good player. But the lobs, word got around, just hit her a lob and she'll have trouble.
Right.
So she had trouble when there was no background judging where the ball was. Mm-hmm. So we spent a lot of time. We spent a ton of time with balls above her eye level, practicing following, tracking, focusing above eye level. So we had a specific goal, and she kind of came in one day and said, I got it, I can do this, you know. Again, the weekend athletes just looking to get a little better at something.
Right.
Maybe reduce some frustration.
Yep.
That girl who was Conference Player of the Year, she was very frustrating to the coach. She was very good in practice, but fell apart in games. And what happened is, under the stress of the game, also her peripheral vision just tunneled right in, and she had blinders on and just didn't know where she was on the court. So she's a high-level athlete. We're trying to be as good as we can get.
Right.
So it really depends on the goal. Most people show improvement. And are pretty happy with what we do here. We have a fun time.
How do you find working with athletes different than the typical person who comes in with with a vision problem? Is there any difference besides the actual the training regimen is mostly it, or is there other differences as well?
Generally, they're like other patients. We work with them. We just adapt things to the specific sport. For instance, if somebody is, I said, a volleyball player or that tennis player, but volleyball, we have all these things set up above eye level. We have eye charts like this up by the ceiling. We have a ball that's adjustable in height. We'll have it up there. Whereas somebody who's, let's say, a hockey player or a goalie, everything is low.
Exactly.
So we're going to have targets and objects near the floor.
Right.
Because that's the direction of gaze. That's where the business is.
Right.
That's where they have to do things.
You said you keep mentioning various sports, and particularly volleyball with the stats before. I'm just curious, is there any sports that kind of where these conditions seem to, manifest themselves or pop up more frequently? I mean, baseball is watching a fastball come is probably one of them. But
hitting a baseball is considered the hardest thing to do in sports. I mean, there's a lot of research being done because technically you can't move your eyes that fast. Okay.
Right.
I mean, they've measured it. You have to decide to swing while the ball is still maybe 2 or 3 feet from the pitcher's hand. We're talking fractions of seconds. And look, it's a sport where if you're successful a third of the time, you're an all-star.
You're great, yeah.
So I mean, I think right now baseball is considered the most difficult thing to do, but it depends what you need. Tennis is right up there.
Right.
Tennis is up there. Interesting. I worked for an optometrist who did research when I was in optometry school in New York City, and he was measuring all these different athletes to see what their vision was. And you want to know who had the best visual skills of all?
Who?
A car racer.
Wow. Really?
Automobile racer. Professional car racer had the best eye movement skills of any of the athletes he tested, which is very interesting. But think about somebody going 200 miles an hour. Peripheral vision, you have to see all the other cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you're making things are going by you in fractions of a second.
Exactly.
So that's something people don't think about. But also golf. There was a golfer. If you have watched golf now, he's the main announcer. Nick Faldo is the main announcer for Sunday sports, weekend sports coverage, and he had trouble lining up putts. He had his caddy. He had this female caddy. I remember she always had this big blonde ponytail. So she always had the same caddy, and she lined up putts for him. And then I noticed one day he was lining up putts himself, and I found in an article in a golf magazine that he had done vision therapy.
Wow.
With this Dr. Farnsworth, who is a sports vision expert. And he was able to improve his vision and read his own putts himself, which for him might make the difference of making $1 million at a tournament.
Yes.
So even though it's not 100-mile-an-hour baseball, it's just as important.
Absolutely. So. Did you work with any specific teams in the area, or at least the ones that you know?
I have not. It's something we've thought about doing.
Right.
I've worked. The main team, as I said, Albany girls volleyball is the main organized one we've done.
Right.
Other than that, it's mainly been individuals and word of mouth. So it's something I think it's a hot topic. I think we'll see more. It's something we want to make a concerted effort in the future to see if we could work with some teams, either college or high school, and see what happens.
That actually leads into the last question we have. What do you see coming down the road in terms of improving sport athletes and their
there's some
vision?
cool stuff. There's some great tech happening now.
Right.
Like I said, this is actually a few years old. The next horizon is virtual reality.
Oh yes, that's right.
And if I had a pair to show you, I would. Right now they're very expensive.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But there are several companies out there making vision therapy equipment that's VR based, virtual reality, where you wear these headsets that I'm sure you've seen on TV or commercials for video games. And you can simulate games, and you can set up conditions, and you could set up training conditions, and you could make it difficult for them. So they're now starting to connect the visual with some hand-eye activities. Nice. So you can actually you can hit a ball
virtually,
in virtual reality. So I think, again, prisms, lenses, balls, a lot of this old stuff is still going to be used, but I think people find the tech kind of sexy, and probably will drive the market a little bit in the next 5 years. I think we'll see some very exciting things out there.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. There's so much you can do there, definitely. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that about wraps up our time here. We have. I want to thank Dr. Robert Fox for taking the time out of his very busy day to come in and meet with us. And I want to thank you for watching. So hope you turn in next time for the next edition of Health and Wellness. And take care and have a really great day.